The talks around this year's NBA MVP are heating up. A lot of familiar names and one king, but are we overlooking a deserving candidate? Greetings and salutations, sports fans. Welcome back to The Fumble. I'm your host, Jackie Ray. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and then head on over to Twitter and Instagram and follow me at JRayTheFanatic. Now look, I know what you're thinking. You think I'm just going to tell you all the reasons why King James is the obvious choice for MVP. Well, of course he is, number one. And number two, you know that unless you're a hater. So no, I am not going to restate the obvious, but I am going to ask a question. Are we overlooking some solid talent? The top 5 contenders right now are, of course, King James, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, Kevin Durant, and of course, Kawhi Leonard. But Bradley Beal, he has 10 games over 30 points, 2 games over 40, and a 60-point game. Now granted, not a lot of those translated to wins, but does that really matter? I mean, sure, it's embarrassing. The Wizards have only won 4 of the games where he scored over 30 points. They lost both games where he scored over 40, and they lost the game where he scored 60 points. But the truth is, if Bradley Beal wasn't playing for the Wizards, we probably wouldn't talk about that team at all. But if the fact that Bradley Beal makes the Washington Wizards relevant isn't worth an MVP, at least consideration, then explain to me why all of a sudden Steph Curry is in that conversation. Now, I will admit, at least the Warriors do have some nationally televised games, unlike the Wizards, and they have a better record. In fact, if everything were to end right now, the Warriors would be in the play-in, and the Wizards would be like trout swimming upstream. It's not likely they'd even get close to a play-in spot. But I guess even the remote possibility that the Warriors will make the playoffs has Dubs Nation doing what they do best and getting Steph in this conversation. Of course, Steph Curry did score his 8th career 50-point game against the Dallas Mavericks, finishing with 57 points, and he made 11 three-pointers. Yes, the Warriors lost, but several sports writers feel the lack of wins should not negate Steph's dominance. In fact, NBA sports writer Kendra Andrews says, quote, Curry is putting up MVP numbers right now, but nowhere in any conversation about the award is Curry's name. Plain and simple, it's because the Warriors are losing, but that shouldn't be why Curry is left out of the race. The Athletic's Ethan Strauss pretty much echoes that same sentiment and says that Steph is getting better after every loss, but the media just isn't covering it. Nick Andre from Clutch Sports thinks the same thing. Steph should be in the MVP conversation, and he makes one point that none of you will let me use for LeBron James, Steph's age. He says Steph is now 32, and that should be taken into consideration. LeBron James is 36 years old, so I'm down for using the age as a reason to be in that conversation, but it seems like that should benefit LeBron a little bit more than Steph. Strauss also says the fact that Steph is averaging 29.4 points, 6.1 assists, and 5.4 rebounds a game with less than an effective roster is why he should be considered. So make this make sense for me. Because the consensus seems to be that since Steph is playing well on a team that's not so good, he should be considered for the MVP. Have you seen the Wizards? Bradley Beal is putting up insane numbers, and he's doing it on a squad that outside of Russell Westbrook is complete trash. In fact, Bradley Beal's numbers are up from last season. He closed out last year averaging 30.5 points and just over 6 assists and 4 rebounds a game. This season, Bradley is averaging more than 33 points per game and more than 4 rebounds and assists, but he's nowhere in the conversation. Why? Because the Wizards haven't won a championship since 1978, and they haven't even been in contention for one since Bradley started with the team in 2012. Honestly, I don't care that the Warriors aren't losing as bad. If a losing record doesn't automatically disqualify you from the MVP conversation, I think Bradley Beal should be in there, but that's just me. Do you think a losing record as bad as the Wizards should automatically exclude you from that conversation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Once again, I'm Jackie Ray, and thanks for watching The Fumble.